want to shape something. I want to build something. I want to be a part of something bigger than me that I can have creative control over.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Immigrant Doctor Podcast. I have a very special guest today, Veena Jetti. So for those of you who don't know, she is a badass at real estate and she primarily deals in large multifamily. She's a mentor of mine and she's a very good friend. We actually happened to bump into each other, and believe it or not, I didn't know who she was till a few months ago. And somehow our worlds collided and I came to know her, I met her, and she's an amazing person. So I figured I need to get her on the show. So briefly about her, she's actually been in the real estate industry for about 10 years. And I think they did, $900 million of transactions or close to that last year, which was phenomenal. Her background is in finance, by the way. She did it from University of Illinois in Chicago, and then she pivoted to real estate. So I want to welcome her. Welcome, Veena. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm doing well. I'm so excited for this because it's always fun when you get to record podcasts with friends.
Yeah, it is. So let's start with, how you got started with real estate. I know we've had these discussions before and you've mentioned your mom was in real estate, or at least wasn't interested in real estate. So what got you to go into real estate from your, doing some stuff in finance at the University of Illinois, and then you're now an investor?
Yeah, so my mom is a real estate investor. She primarily invested in single family homes, and I grew up around it, really. So I know it's like over a decade of experience, but really I think I've been around real estate investing since before I could even walk, to be completely fair. So I think that really gave me a young foundation for real estate. And then I graduated when I was 20 from college with my degree in finance. And I was like, I'm going to go do something totally different than the family business. And I ended up working in corporate real estate, and I ended up learning a lot there. I hung my hat at some of the biggest shops in the world, and ultimately left in 2012 to start investing for myself. And like you said, now we've bought and sold over 900 million over the course of my investing career in multifamily assets, where actually next month we'll cross the $1 billion mark. So that's like an exciting moment for us. Yeah, it's exciting for us. But that's how I started. I started actually in single family. Is when I left corporate America, I started in single family investing, and then realized quickly that I couldn't get to scale in single family. And so I had to find a better way. And that's where multifamily it was like the light bulb moment there.
Let me ask you this. Has Pace Morby ever questioned you? I know you're very close friends with him. Has he ever questioned you on this, about scaling in single family? Because that's pretty much the bread and butter of his business, or it has been till fairly recently. Yeah,
it's funny because what Pace has done, it's like mind-blowing what he's done, because he's taken something that I always thought, look, when I was investing in single family, we were bootstrapping. We were investing our own money. So if I ran out of money, I ran out of houses to buy. And that's the biggest issue I had with the scalability there. But because of the way he acquires assets through creative finance, subject to, it's actually made it this really scalable endeavor within single family. And for him, he has such a big reach and such a big network that he has so many people sourcing deals for him. Back then it was just little old me, and 3 people knew who I was, and that's about it. And so I didn't have the same kind of reach that he does. So I think one hand washes the other, but I think for scaling single family, he has really cracked that code well.
Right. Well, for you, I understand that your mom was in real estate, and I guess that was part of the reason what attracted you to real estate. But you had gone into finance. I mean, the world was your oyster, right? In terms of finance, you could have easily moved to New York, joined some brokerage, some hedge fund or something. What made you kind of stick around real estate?
It's funny that you say that, because I'm thinking about Veena at 20 years old. No hedge fund would have ever hired me at 20 years old. Okay, I promise you that. So I think a lot of people have a misconception about college, right? So yes, I learned some basic things, but the bulk of the things I've learned came way after college, from real world experience, from executing, just doing it, right? I did not learn about NOI in college. I learned how late can I stay out drinking and still make it to my 8 a.m. class tomorrow, right? Like that's what you learn in college. It's time management, it's networking. I actually think college is more useful for the soft skills that you learn in college than the hard skills, especially with access to the internet and educational platforms and ChatGPT, right? Like you don't necessarily need to sit in a classroom to learn about what NOI is. It's really about all the other soft skills that you learn in college, and that's what I think college is useful for.
Yeah, that's true. I think the world is evolving and changing at such a fast pace, especially with AI. I know we've had these conversations about AI, but I think that's for a different day. I just want to kind of dive into your story and your journey. So you started in, this multifamily. Obviously, that's a completely different beast compared to single family, right? And you started initially by investing your own money, which is, the path for a lot of investors when they start out. They start with their own money, and after a while you hit a point where you're like, well, I'm already invested in all of these assets with my own money. What do I do next? So how did you make that jump? How did you, what did you think, or what caused you to make that jump into the next phase of your journey in real estate?
Yeah, so to be clear, when I first started investing in multifamily, I started as a sponsor. I didn't start as an LP. Because I didn't know you could actually start as an LP until I was ready to be a GP. I wish I would have known. I wish someone would have asked me. Literally nobody asked me about this. So I was investing my own money in single family homes, right? And like you said, you get to a point where you run out of money at some point. And there was a week where I bought 5 houses in a week. And I was like, oh my gosh, I hate this. Because it's like you're driving around from house to house and like you're trying to collect rent and your residents are calling you at all different hours of the day and night. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I really hate this. I need a property manager on the asset. And you don't get that until you get to scale, right? So that's number one. But number two, even if I could buy 5 houses a week, it's like 500 houses a year. I can't get to 10,000 doors like that. I can't get to even 5,000 doors without a very long runway. And so that's where, and this is actually the conversations I have with PACE are, look, if you're looking to own thousands of units or hundreds of thousands of units, it's very hard to do this one home at a time, right? You just don't have the benefit of scale. You don't have management in the same way that you can under one roof. You don't have shared contracts. So there's a lot of issues that come up with single family. And so in that week, I was like, there's got to be a better way. And I love residential real estate because I love the idea of providing something that's so important in somebody's life. Like, this is your home. And I love the idea of investing into that, into revitalizing that. Like, all of that is really important to me. But I wanted to do it with the benefit of commercial real estate and at scale. And so that is how I ended up finding multifamily. It's the best of both worlds.
Right. No, that's true. I love multifamily too, and you know better than anybody else that that's my asset class of choice that I'm investing in right now. But I want to allude to the fact that you mentioned about property management. So it seems like when you started, probably your mom also was self-managing her single-family portfolio.
She was. So I didn't really know. I had never seen a better way to do it.
Interesting. And so when you pivoted to the multifamily space, how did you find mentors? How did you do that? Because I mean, it's essentially a different language that you're talking about, different set of people that you're meeting. What did you do to get started in this?
Yeah, so I actually had a partner who even to this day he's a good friend of mine, and he's transacted on billions of dollars of assets now, and he is the first person I think who really opened my eyes to this world of investing and multifamily. And then I started to go to, different meetups and events where there were other people like you and I there that knew and understood that this was a world. And then it was, reading and constantly going back to the drawing board, learning something new, hearing something, asking questions, right? And back then, I never paid for mentorship. I never paid for networking, and now I'm in those rooms because I've earned my way into them. But I will tell you, the shortcut is mentorship. The shortcut is being in communities with like-minded individuals, because otherwise it's long, it's scenic. It took me over 10 years to get here.
Yeah, I think it's about the value of time, right? If you're gonna get somebody's time, you have to give them value in some way or the other, whether it's monetary or whether it's by doing something. It's either in cash or in kind that you have to buy that value from them, and it doesn't always have to translate to money. Like in your case, it didn't translate into paying somebody money for it. But I think to gain value from somebody, you really need to give them value, and you need to give them enough value that they perceive it valuable.
I totally agree. Honestly, if I could go back and knowing what I know now, I would have done it entirely differently.
What would you have done differently?
Like mostly everything. So what I would have done differently is I would have probably structured our company a little bit differently. I probably would have rolled out my own company sooner, where my sister and I are partners in Vive. And I probably would have rolled that out a little bit sooner and tried to get her on board a little bit earlier in my career, because she's been an amazing partner. I probably would have also just put systems and processes in place that are different. I would have started by actually finding a mentor or a community that I could ask these questions. I could dare to dream really big without someone telling me like, oh, this is crazy. And I think that would have actually like changed the entire trajectory of my business, and it would have been like pouring gasoline on a fire.
Wow. Yeah, I agree. And I think it has evolved over the last few years with social media. Like we can interact so easily, and with all the platforms like Zoom and whatever have you, it's so easy to interact now, and it's so easy to find those communities and to find those mentors, even sitting at home.
Totally. Yeah, and I think COVID really added more pressure for everybody to kind of become virtual and be open to networking online. And I think that was kind of the silver lining maybe of COVID, is we had an opportunity to really push everybody to a virtual direction much faster, which I think today would have been very different without that COVID period, the dark ages.
And I'm glad you mentioned about Priya, though, because I had a conversation with Priya, and I wanted to talk to you about a different aspect of that relationship that you have with Priya, right? So what did you see in Priya? Because obviously you started this business before her. And this kind of talks about seeing what you look for in a potential partner. So what did you see in Priya that made you kind of gravitate towards her being a part of your business, especially, given the fact that she's family, right?
Yeah.
The common adages. And I mentioned this to Priya also. I said, well, mostly people say that you should not mix business with family or friends.
Yeah.
And here you are, sisters, working in a business together. So what made you kind of get her involved in this?
Yeah, she's my sister. She's my best friend. Which I actually think is a strength for us, to be honest. So Priya is somebody she is like low key a sniper. Like I think people really underestimate her. And I think this has probably been true our whole lives. And part of that is because I'm such an extreme extrovert. And I'm so, like, I have an opinion about everything, and I'm, like, very outgoing. And she's a little bit more reserved. She's way more laid back than I am, right? But I think because of that, there has always been this tendency, and, she's my younger sister. So there's been this tendency for her to be kind of, like, in my shadow a little bit. And I think that Priya doesn't even realize how amazing Priya is, right? Like, I see it, and I know it, but she dismisses that as, like, oh, well, you're just my big sister. Of course you think this. But it's true. I mean, she really is incredible. And the first reason I even asked her is because I trust her implicitly. If you cannot trust your partners implicitly, then you need to really be questioning if this is the right relationship or right partnership for you. And it's true even with Ellie, right? Like, I trust her implicitly. She'll sometimes voice text me and be like, I need your social security number. And I'm voice texting it back to her, right? Most people don't do that. They kind of have a little more pause, and vice versa, right? If I ask her, I'm like, hey, what's your social? It's not like this whole line of questioning around it or whatever. And after Ellie sends me her social, I'm like, hey, I'm just so you know, I'm going to steal your identity now. And she's like, don't do that. But that's like the kind of relationship we have is one of like trust and knowing that we are trying to make the best decisions possible for our investors. So it's that alignment too. It's trust, it's alignment. But I think Priya is just, she's the yin to my yang, right? Like, I'm a visionary. I will see all the things and I will talk about them and I will want to do them. And I have no idea how to get from point A to point B. Priya will drive the car there.
All right, guys, if you haven't done already, please go check out my free video series on how to do due diligence on operators and on deals before investing in them. It's called Real Estate RX for Passive Investors, and it's available at www.rerxcourse.com.